The lawyer had barely broken the seal on a dead man's will when the door burst open. A stranger stood in the doorway, clutching an old leather satchel. He looked at the portrait hanging on the wall and said the family had no idea he had been born. This is the story they call the Lost Son. It was said that the morning Chief Obinna Okonkwo was buried, the skies above Elka wore the color of mourning. Governors, senators, and traditional rulers filled the church for the farewell of one of eastern Nigeria's most celebrated businessmen, a man newspapers had called the Lion of the East, a man who had built an empire from nothing and was remembered, that morning, as untouchable. In the front pew sat the family everyone believed they knew. Chinedu, the eldest, had spent 15 years as managing director beside his father. Ada Etse, educated abroad, now ran the family's charitable foundation. And Kelechi, the youngest, an architect by training, had never wanted the boredom his father valued so highly. That evening, the siblings gathered in their father's private study for the first time since his death. His glasses still on an open Bible, his walking stick still leaning against the shelf. It didn't take long for grief to curdle into something else. Chinedu reminded his sister how many years he'd given the company. Ada Etse reminded him loyalty wasn't the only thing their father valued. Kelechi said nothing. But he noticed something that unsettled him. Their father had been dead less than 12 hours. And already they sounded less like siblings and more like rivals. None of them knew that another chapter of the family, one buried for almost 50 years, was about to begin. 3 days later, the siblings gathered at the law office of barrister Obinna Okonkwo, their father's lawyer of nearly 30 years, for the reading of the will. He had barely broken the wax seal on the envelope when a secretary interrupted, visibly nervous. A man was waiting outside, she said, insisting the meeting concerned him, and that reading the will without hearing him first would mean helping to bury the truth forever. His name, she said, was Obinna Okonkwo. None of the siblings recognized it. The man who walked in was in his early 50s, lean, weathered by years of honest work. There was no fear in his eyes. Only sadness. "My name is Obinna Okonkwo," he said. "This family is about to divide an inheritance without acknowledging the person who should have been sitting here from the beginning." Chinedu rose immediately, insisting their father had 3 children. Obinna answered quietly that he had 4. Accusations followed, that he'd waited 50 years and conveniently appeared once money was in play. Obinna didn't argue. He opened his satchel and laid its contents on the table. A wedding photograph, letters tied in ribbon, and a yellow marriage certificate. "My mother kept these until the day she died," he said. "I'm not asking you to believe me today. I'm asking you to investigate." It was the simplicity of that request that unsettled everyone. He wasn't demanding money, or threatening court. Only asking them to look. As Barrister Okonkwo examined the certificate, his calm expression changed, ever so slightly, for the first time since the stranger had entered the room. The reading of the will was suspended pending investigation. Private investigators were brought in. Forensic experts examined the paper, the ink, the photographs. Chinedu demanded a DNA test. Obinna didn't object. He simply said, "The truth doesn't panic," and left the room without another word. The findings arrived one by one, each harder to dismiss than the last. The marriage certificate was authentic, over 50 years old, ink and seal matching the period. In New Munse, investigators found the same marriage recorded in a church register. Chukwuemeka Okonkwo and Ezinne, and Nwafor, 49 years earlier. A surviving witness recalled the wedding photograph instantly, even the borrowed suit sleeves that had been too short. A detail no forger could invent decades later. He remembered how the young trader had promised to one day build his bride the biggest house in the village. And how, once the city called him, the letters slowly stopped, then the money, then everything. Handwriting experts matched old letters to Chief Okonkwo business records. The same hand had written both. One letter spoke of building a future for us and for our son. Say read those two words over and over, unable to stop. Kelechi, watching his siblings unravel, realized he no longer knew what he was hoping for. If Obinna was telling the truth, the father they'd admired all their lives had abandoned not only a wife, but a child. Then came the DNA results, and something else. A woman had come forward, claiming she had been there the day their father walked away from his first family. The journey to Umundse took the family past red earth roads and mud brick homes, into a world their father had clearly once belonged to. Obinna pointing out the old market, the stream, not showing off, but remembering. An elderly woman named Mama Grace, who had lived beside Azine for decades, studied each sibling's face and finally whispered that they all had their father's eyes. She told them how Chukwuemeka and Azine had once been inseparable, until success called him to Lagos and, visit by visit, he stopped coming home, missing one Christmas, then a birthday, then a first day of school, each absence wrapped in another promise. Obinna, she said, used to wait at the edge of the village for hours whenever he heard his father was coming, walking home each evening asking his mother if maybe the bus had broken down. Inside the modest home where Azine had raised her son, a photograph of a smiling woman hung on the wall. Looking at it, Adaetse realized, with a shock that broke her composure completely, that the woman's smile was her own, that the mother whose existence had been erased had unknowingly lived on in her children all along. It was there that Barrister Okonkwo finally asked the question none of them had dared voice. Why had Obinna waited until after his father's death to come forward? His answer was quiet. He had promised his mother he would never shame his father while he was alive. But the night before she died, she had taken his hand and asked for something else entirely. That when the time came, he would make the world believe she had truly been his father's wife, and that he had never been a bastard. In an old tin box, Obinna kept dozens of letters his mother had written but never sent. Every one stamped "Return to Sender," since his father's addresses kept changing as his empire grew. She kept writing anyway, not expecting a reply, simply because it was the only way she knew to keep speaking to the man she still called her husband. One letter described a young Obinna asking why other children had fathers waiting outside the school gate while his own lived only in photographs. An elderly village elder confirmed the marriage had been entirely real. He'd drunk palm wine at the ceremony himself. What hurt Azine most, he said, wasn't the poverty, or raising a son alone. It was hearing people say she'd invented the marriage, trapped a wealthy man's name for herself, while Chukwuemeka's silence let the rumor stand. Obinna admitted that as a boy, he'd once broken another child's nose for calling him that name, and that the hardest part wasn't his own shame, but hearing his mother cry that night, not for herself, but for him. It was there, in the fading light, that Barrister Okonkwo revealed something he'd carried for 6 months. A sealed envelope Chief Okonkwo had given him shortly before his death, never to be opened, unless someone named Obinna ever came looking. The next morning, in the quiet of the lawyer's office, the envelope was finally opened. Addressed to my children. If the day I feared ever comes, it contained a confession that none of them were prepared for. Their father wrote that he had spent his whole life teaching them a man's name was his greatest possession, and that his own greatest sin had been taking his name away from his firstborn son. He confirmed everything, that Obinna was his son, that Azine had been his true wife before God and before their people. He confessed that success had come with shame attached, powerful men mocking his village wife, until eventually he let the distance grow, one delayed visit at a time, until silence became easier than the truth. He admitted, most painfully, that he had driven to Umundse secretly over the years, watching his son grow into a man from a distance, once even watching him laugh, before asking himself how a man introduces himself to the son he'd abandoned. Cowards run from difficult conversations, he wrote. I became one. His final instruction changed the room completely. Do not insult Obinna by assuming he came for money. If he has inherited anything from his mother, he has inherited her dignity. Do not make him spend another day pretending he never existed. For a long moment, no one could speak. Then Chinedu crossed the room and apologized to the brother he'd once called a fraud. Obinna told him gently that the apology belonged to a man no longer there to hear it. He hadn't come looking for guilty brothers. He'd come looking for the truth. News of the missing son spread quickly, and not kindly. Headlines called him a threat to the family empire. None of it reached Obinna. He'd lived too long under the weight of strangers' opinions to start carrying new ones now. At a family gathering of uncles, aunts, and the traditional council of elders, Chinedu announced the truth publicly for the first time. Disbelief turned to accusation. If Obinna was really the firstborn, why wait until now? Obinna rose and answered without anger. He hadn't come for land or companies, he said. He'd come because his mother deserved better than being remembered as a liar. He held up her wedding ring, worn until the day she died, and repeated her final words to him, that even if his father never remembered her, God had already witnessed their marriage. The eldest of the council rose, crossed the courtyard, and extended his hand. "It is we who owe you an apology," he said. "Welcome home, first son of Obinna Okonkwo." Obinna took it, and the courtyard broke into quiet weeping. Not applause, just years of silence finally ending. When the will was finally read, it left everything, as originally written, to Chinedu, Ada Etse, and Kalechi. The will had been signed before their father found the courage to acknowledge his firstborn. All three siblings immediately insisted on including Obinna as a fourth heir. Obinna refused. He said he hadn't come searching for riches, he'd come searching for his mother's name. That had already been given back to her. His father's letter had confessed the truth. His siblings had accepted him. What greater inheritance, he asked quietly, could I possibly ask for? Kalechi broke down first, crossing the room to embrace him, followed by Adeze, then Chinedu, 4 children. Finally standing together, bound by one flawed father and the truth he'd waited too long to tell. In the months that followed, Obinna accepted none of the family's wealth, returning instead to his carpentry workshop in Humans, where he taught apprentices, many fatherless themselves, that a man's worth is measured by character, not by the name people call him. Chinedu became a quieter, more generous leader. Adeze built the foundation in her mother's name, supporting widows and children denied dignity by the circumstances of their birth. Kalechi built a library in the village, with both his parents' names carved above the door, side by side, exactly as they should have stood from the beginning. That Christmas, for the first time, the family celebrated not in the city, but in Humans, laughing together beneath the same mango tree where an old woman had once told them the truth. Obinna, glancing toward his mother's grave on the hillside, said quietly. She hadn't lived to see it. But she no longer had to defend the truth. For 48 years, he had been the son they pretended never existed. In the end, he became the brother they could no longer imagine living without. Thank you for listening. If this story moved you, let us know in the comments. Do you think Obinna was right to refuse the inheritance? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who believes the truth is always worth telling, no matter how late. Until next time, thank you for watching.